of like on the friends base, or someone can recommend you a new employee, which is also possible. But normally, if we are talking about standard companies, so you have to somehow buy the recruitment. So what that means, so either way, you have to ask someone to do it for you, or you have to do it yourself. Still, you would need some advertisement, you would need some fees to pay, you would need someone who will select your people, etc. So we call it a recruitment cost. It's before the hiring is the hiring cost. And of course, there are some connected costs. For example, if you are a larger company, so you might use external company, such as a personal agencies or headhunting companies, or we call it as also as a executive search. So it costs quite a lot. So that's the start. I will talk about the entire life cycle of the employment. So, and of course, you start with the recruitment cost. It can be cheap, it can be very expensive. I will also show you at the end of the session how the HR budget could look like. So I'll prepare for you some examples how the HR budget can look like if you have standard employees. We call them blue collars. It means workers, manual workers, etc. And if you have the management, because of course the cost connected with managers is much higher than with the manual workers. So that's the recruitment cost. You're usually starting there. You have to plan it. And what is very important, and I will talk about that a little bit later, that you have it under control, the recruitment cost, because you have approved organization chart for her fiscal year. That's very important. You need to know how many people you are hiring in fiscal year, and then you can plan it, of course. Then the personal cost, which are again connected with the recruitment, with the employees itself, are systems, HR systems. You need payroll, you need to calculate the wages. Doesn't matter if you have it in-house or if you have it externally, you always need that someone is doing the payroll for you. So either way you buy it, you outsource it, or you have a third party services. But anyways, the cost is connected there, and the cost will be definitely shown in your HR budget because you have to plan it in advance. Also, most probably you will have HR information system, which means whatever you are using. I'm not talking about the Excel sheet. I'm talking about the professional HRIS. It means that you've got something like PeopleSoft, you've got something like whatever is available on the market. SAP, it can be, etc., etc. Again, you have to plan the cost. Of course, if you have employees, you need some working means for the employees. I will show you in detail what does it mean, but in general, you need for the blue collar workers something what they should wear as a clothes, working clothes, or whatever they need, working tools. People who are sitting in the offices, they need to have a computer, they need to have a telephone, they need to have an internet connection, etc. And everything, it can be nicely connected with one FTE, and then you can plan it properly. Of course, a large portion of the personal cost, and you again can nicely link it to one employee, is the training and development cost. That's the cost aside, which can be depends what you would like to achieve. But if you are a proper company, you have to cover mandatory trainings. Mandatory trainings means, for example, health and safety trainings. You need to do the medical checkups, which will be most probably budgeted in the training and development cost. You need to develop your people further, so you've got some coaching, mentoring, you've got some training program, academies, etc., etc. Again, it can be linked to one FTE. Normally, you've got a monthly or annual budget per person per one FTE. Full-time equivalent is one person, and then again you put it in your budget. Of course, the cost which is connected and which should be calculated in your HR budget are cost for the remuneration. What that means, you have to obviously pay the salaries. That's the one part. Of course, you have to pay the bonuses. If you have a bonus scheme, it's superb, so you can calculate it precisely as well. But you have to also pay, for example, the salary benchmarks. You might have hay grades, for example, so you know how much you should pay to which position. So it's also not for free, so you have to budget it as well, etc., etc. What I like to put also in the HR budget to the personal cost are the travel costs, because if you have the employees and they need